People find themselves trapped in a strange town they simply can't leave. At night, survival on the streets is impossible due to mysterious creatures. These immortal beings resemble humans but are not human at all. They mercilessly hunt down the townspeople, killing them in brutal ways. The residents have grown used to hiding in burrows and have created small shelters. Yet deaths still occur. This had been going on for an unknown amount of time until Boyd arrived in the town with his wife and their son Ellis. The protagonist accidentally discovered some stones in the forest that act as protective charms. If these stones are hung in the house and all windows and doors are closed, the monsters cannot enter. At the beginning of the film, we see a strange little town. The sheriff walks down the street, ringing a bell, a signal for the locals that it's time to return home. Painted stones hang on the walls inside the houses. A girl named Megan doesn't want to go home, but her mother has to disappoint her and insists she come inside. After the sheriff finishes his rounds and confirms that everyone has gone home, he returns to the station. A sign next to the door reads, 96 nights without incident. In one of the bars, the father of the little girl passes out and is unable to walk home. The bartender realizes he'll have to stay the night there. The mother, worried about her husband not coming back, sends her daughter upstairs to bed. Megan gets ready to sleep, and at some point hears the voice of an old woman. She claims to be Megan's grandmother and asks the girl to come to the window. The grandmother says she missed Megan very much and asks her to open the window and let her in. The mother comes upstairs and tells Megan to step away from the window, but the old woman keeps insisting, and Megan opens it. We move to the next day. We are introduced to the Matthews family, consisting of Father Jim, Mother Tabitha, and their children Julie and Ethan. They are traveling in an RV on vacation. The man who stayed the night at the bar is named Frank. In the morning, he sees a crowd gathered outside his home. The sheriff comes out of the house and punches him in the face, accusing him of not boarding up the window in the house where his family was. He drags him inside and forces him to witness a horrific sight. The mother and daughter are dead, their bodies mutilated. Meanwhile, Jim, the head of the family, is confident they're heading in the right direction, but they come across a fallen tree and see ominous crows. Jim decides to change their route. In the settlement, there are two groups that, although they don't particularly like each other, still manage to live in peace. One group lives in the town center, each family in a separate house with its own talisman. The other group lives communally in a large house where everything is shared. The first group is led by Boyd, the second by Donna. Sheriff Boyd visits the large house to see his son and tells him what happened during the night and that everyone is waiting for him at the funeral. However, Ellis is not thrilled to see his father. During the funeral, Jim and his family arrive in the town. The locals greet them with sympathy, knowing how hard it will be for newcomers to accept the reality of this place. The sheriff and his deputy tell Jim to just keep driving and they'll reach the highway, but this is a lie. After some time on the road, the family ends up back in the town. Tabitha believes they missed a turn, but there's no turn at all. They keep circling back. Jim turns around and drives the other way, but another car crashes into them. Their RV ends up in a ravine. Tabitha loses consciousness and Ethan's leg is badly injured. Jim tries to get out, but he's pinned under a tree. The other car carried two men. One goes to look for help and runs into two officers already laying spike strips for the RV. He tells them about the crash and is taken to the local clinic. The second man is under the influence of drugs. Boyd heads straight to the RV. He manages to rescue Tabitha and Julie, but Ethan's condition is more serious. The doctor says they won't make it before sunset. Boyd decides to stay in the RV, though he's unsure if the talisman will work this time. Dr. Christie also stays behind. The family still doesn't understand what's going on. Boyd tries to convince them it's impossible to survive in the forest after dark. Eventually, he convinces the women to head to town while Jim stays behind. Meanwhile, a strange girl enters the hospital room of the newcomer and slits his throat. In the RV, Boyd hangs the talisman, while Jim begins to suspect he's dealing with some sort of cult. The others head toward town but hit the very spike strips they had set earlier. Time is running out, so they decide to run to the communal house, which is slightly closer. Ethan begins to seize, and Boyd sees uninvited guests approaching the RV. Jim thinks someone's come to help, but Boyd insists they must not be let in no matter what they say. He explains that these are not people, but monsters that manipulate others into opening the door and then kill everyone inside. Jim struggles to believe this, but can't deny how disturbingly the people outside are behaving. Meanwhile, the others arrive at the communal house, and strange humanoid creatures begin closing in. At first, they're not let in, but Donna, the head of the house, eventually allows everyone inside. She tries to explain what's going on and that everyone in town has been in the same situation on their first night. They all reacted the same way. In another room, a strange man named Victor approaches Julie. He talks to her as if trying to make friends, but she interprets it very differently. He takes some peaches and leaves. A girl named Fatima tells Julie that Victor is harmless and has been here for a long time. She says she'll be Julie's guide and offers to show her around the house and explain how everything works. Donna tells Tabitha how she ended up in this town and explains that back then, there were no talismans. On their first night, she and her sister encountered one of the monsters. It just stood on the road smiling, and then it tore the skin off her sister. That night at the clinic, the strange girl Sarah, the one who killed the newcomer, hears voices telling her to open the door. She leaves and returns home, where her brother Nathan sees traces of blood and realizes she's done something terrible. Meanwhile, the woman working at the clinic spots the monsters, but it's too late. They enter and brutally kill everyone inside. Morning comes. In the overturned RV, everyone is still alive and young. Ethan is saved, though he begins to see a boy in white clothes in the woods. The young deputy visits his sick father at the clinic and finds his mutilated body. A hard day begins for Sheriff Boyd. Today is the trial of the man whose family died 2 days ago. Boyd comes to see him, and his anger turns to pity. The man fully acknowledges his guilt and no longer cares about his own fate. Back at the communal house, another crash survivor wakes up and panics upon realizing he had been tied to the bed during the night. Donna begins explaining that it's impossible to leave the town and that, at night, strange, smiling creatures that look like humans come out to hunt. But Jade, of course, doesn't believe any of it. He thinks his late friend arranged an elaborate and expensive prank, and he decides to play along. At the town cafe, the deputy's mother continues working and helping people despite having lost her husband. Sarah, the girl who killed her husband, also works there and is very close to the family. The priest explains to the newcomers that they must now choose where they want to live, in the communal house or in town. So Tabitha and Jim go to explore the town. They notice a strange structure. The priest tells them it's called the box, the only form of punishment in town. It used to be symbolic, but tonight it will be used for the first time. The idea is that a person must stay inside it overnight without any protective talisman. The priest offers the newcomers a recently vacated house, but it will need to be cleaned first. Meanwhile, in the communal house, Julie has already become friends with Fatima and Boyd's son, Ellis. She begins to embrace the spirit of freedom in their community. Ellis sees Victor outside and becomes curious about what he's doing. Victor says he's measuring distances and concludes that the trees are moving. Julie notices Victor talking to her little brother and forbids them from meeting again. Jade continues exploring the town and tries to understand the logic behind his friend's elaborate prank. He finds a basement and sees a man's body, but thinks it's a highly realistic special effect. Boyd goes to the church and says he can't bring himself to put a man in the box, but the priest doesn't try to stop him. In fact, he fully supports it, believing that this must never happen again. At the town meeting, the newcomers decide to live in the town, but their daughter chooses to stay in the communal house, which upsets the parents. Jade shows up at the meeting rambling about some quest. Kenny, tired of listening, takes him to see his friend's body so he'll finally understand. At the meeting, it's revealed that Sheriff Boyd gave the accused man a talisman because he didn't want to sentence him to death. But the man refuses to use it. He fully repents and regrets not being able to save his family. That evening, everyone gathers at the box, and the man is locked inside. As soon as the sun sets, the creatures begin to arrive. They start slamming into the walls with full force and eventually break through them.